Alright, we're back on location at the koi pond, and wanted to cover a couple more details on the design of everything. We have 3-foot vertical walls, and then we pitch down another foot down to the bottom drain. So overall depth is 4 foot, and we have these 3-foot verticals, so give more water volume in the pond and give more room for the fish to swim around and get exercise. One thing we did was we used a real standard granite that we get really affordable around here. And then we used a little more exotic stone on the top, angular, a little bit nicer looking, and that helped us keep this job within budget because the stuff below grade is inexpensive and the stuff above grade is expensive. We mortared all the stuff into place. We wanted to keep these walls nice and sturdy because of the odd design and what have you, the shape of the pond. We wanted to do these nice vertical walls so that way we wouldn't have any cave-ins or anything like that. So this gives us a lot of support. When we do ponds about 2-foot depth, a lot of times you can do dry stacking in there, and then not mortar the stones into place. But when you get into that 3 to 4 foot depth, that's when you need to start considering using mortar in on these stones. And that kind of brings me back to one of the other points. I would say a minimum koi pond depth, if you're going to build a koi pond, I would try and reach for a minimum of 3-foot depth. The koi can get about 3 foot, so you at least want them to be able to come up and down. Now that's when you're getting exotic stuff from Japan. A lot of the domestic stuff, or the koi I'm talking about, they don't quite get that big. They don't have the genes like they do from getting them from Japan. So if you're getting some exotic stuff from Japan, you might get a fish that gets 30, 32 inches long. So I would say try and get a minimum depth of 36. If you can pitch it down to 4 in the depth at the bottom, then you're doing a lot better. So another thing I wanted to point out is we have our underwater lights integrated into all this rock work. Now, this light I could break free and pop loose. We just touched it with a little bit of foam in here. So we have an expanding foam that locks it into place so the fish don't knock it loose and it goes floating all over the pond. But behind all this mortar, we've sleeved it in some conduit. So that way, in 2 or 3 years, if the light fixture should fail, we could pop the whole thing out and fish tape a new one right back into it. So that's a neat little trick to do when you're doing the mortar in the pond. One thing else I wanted to show you was we've stained the mortar above grade. Below grade, we're not so concerned about the look of the mortar because it's going to have a fine biofilm on there and a little green algae growing on here. But above grade, the mortar's gray and it just doesn't look as nice. So what we've done is we've come through here and we've dyed this with a stain, with an acid stain, and it gives it a more earthy tone and a nice new look like that. Let me talk about current jets for a minute. If you're doing any reading or studying on koi pond design, you'll hear about T.P.Rs and G.P.Rs and these current jets is basically what they are. This is called a Tangential Pond Return. That's T.P.R. What happens is the water comes in at an angle and it helps to swirl the pond and it helps to drive debris to the bottom drain and it helps to drive surface debris to the surface skimming. So we have T.P.Rs in the pond. We have 4 of them. We have 2 in this pond to get everything kind of swirling. Once again, helps facilitate the bottom drain and it helps to drive stuff. So for example, this pond has an odd shape and we have that bridge right there. So when we get the surface debris, we have these returns pushing water like this, and it's gentle. It's not like you see this big whirlpool, but if you saw leaf debris land on the surface, you would slowly see it start to boogie its way over to the skimmer or down the other side of the pond. So this one's driving water this way. I have one behind me driving water at me, and then it pushes it down that way and picks up by the skimmer or pushes it into the other section of the pond where the other skimmer can pick it up as well. So current jets are pretty important when you get into the deeper ponds and different shapes of ponds as well, because we want to make sure the water flow is right. So check out these pipes right here. What we've done is we've painted these pipes. These were all those white PVC pipes and black PVC pipes you probably saw. We painted them to match the house. Not only does it make it look nice and help blend into the home, but more importantly, it protects it from the UV from the sun. After about 7 years, you'll find that PVC pipe that hasn't been painted for protection starts to become brittle. Slight pressure could make it crack, or if you had to make a repair on a valve, let's say, when you went to cut it, you might fracture up into this T, and then you might have to replace a larger section of the pipe. So a little attention to detail in the beginning takes you a long way. I want you to pay close attention to this section right here. This looks like just a design element outside the pond, but actually we have some rubber liner underneath this cobble. We can take this cobble out, and there's about 2 inches of water below the cobble, inside the rubber liner, and so we can put a couple of show specimen pieces of aquatic plants back here. The homeowner was real adamant about having a couple of really nice aquatic plants in the pond as well. So we've facilitated that but it's outside the pond, so the koi can't get to him. Here we're doing some last minute modifications on this bottom drain. Take a look inside here so you can understand how the air works. The air comes up through this standpipe through the bottom of the bottom drain. And the air actually comes through the top of the dome. I'm going to put this air diffuser on the top of this dome. And so then the air comes up through the top of the dome, and then the debris is swept up below this anti-vortex cover, okay? All right, I want you to take a look at the face of this skimmer. We've mortared everything in place, but in front of the skimmer, these few rocks, we have expanding foam in here, locking everything into place. But do your best to try and disguise the skimmer faceplate. It's really important. Once this gets planted in, you know, this rock covers the top of it. It's nice and sturdy. It's not going to come off. It's just a nicer look when you do it. You don't want to see that black faceplate in front of here. It takes away from the natural feel of the pond. Alright, so if you're getting ready to design a koi pond or have one designed for you, remember the 3 fundamentals that we've covered. They're really important in your feature. You want to get everything out of the pond, you want to separate solids, and you want to nitrify the water. Okay, so those are the 3 things you need to remember when you're designing your koi pond, and we'll talk to you again real soon.